So now moving to item 6, the District Licensing Committee member recruitment process. So this is just the process, not the membership. Megan, welcome to the table. Did you have any comments that you wanted to make on this matter?
Not specifically, but obviously I'll take questions, but it's just it's a statutory obligation to appoint members and to recruit. And so that's what I'm asking for today, because I know council officer has the delegated authority to just commence the process. And yes, and we've got a number of members whose terms are expiring near the end of the year.
Yeah, and then at the end of this process, there'll be a report to council where we approve the actual members.
Correct, because again, no council officer has the delegated authority to appoint members, so there will be a report to you with a recommendation to appoint members after the recruitment process.
All right, thank you very much. So are there any questions on this matter? Tim and then Anne. Tim.
I don't want to steal Ian's thunder, so I might get told off, but you can kick me later. Really interesting, we have the CAAP, which seems to be a total disconnect. Yep. So I think that, can we get some form or some way that can be put into the recruitment process?
So they're not a complete, disconnect. One is an action plan. It's not a statutory document.
Yep.
Whereas this one is, and this is what the District Licensing Committee work to.
Yep.
Now the essence, and correct me if I'm wrong, of the alcohol action plan, this one, is harm minimisation.
Yep.
That's also one of the objects of the Act though. There are 2 objects and that is one of them.
Yeah. I totally get that, there's no question about that, but what I'm saying is, as a council, we're hiring these people. Yes. I would expect them at least to have read the document, let alone be aware of it.
Well, they are, members are.
Well, I would, following from the information, that I would argue that some of them have no idea of it. So I think that it should be part or included in the package for reading in the application for the job. I realise that it's not a statutory a document, but we as a city have adopted it, or else there's a whole lot of things that we adopt as a city and put forward as a city that aren't part of that process, therefore we should waste our time doing it.
If I can just add something here.
Yep.
The District Licensing Committee, although it's a committee of council, it's a very special committee. Yep. And it's mandated by the Act, and it's essentially a judicial body. Yep. It's supposed to bring impartiality to its decision making, comply with the rules of natural justice. It has the powers of a commission of inquiry. The CAAP is a document that has been put forward before in evidence in support of people making licence applications that are heard by the District Licensing Committee, and then if it's appealed on to ALA. There was a recent ALA decision that the District Licensing Committee had said that, the things in the council action plan that were the CAAP that were put forward weren't relevant. The ALA left that matter open, but said that in that particular case, the matters that have been put forward weren't relevant to that decision. So it may well be a document that ALA, that the DLC members will consider in dealing with a licence application, and they need to be able to deal with that impartially and just consider it as part of a case. I don't believe it's appropriate for the council to put it in its recruitment package to say, here you go, know all about this, understand this, get on board with this, because that's not their job. They're supposed to be an impartial decision maker.
So if we were to put the question another way, will the Christchurch Alcohol Action Plan, in terms of the recruitment process, through the recruitment process, will people's attention to be drawn to the fact that that document exists?
There's no reason why it can't, is what you can say, but
Yeah, I mean, I'm hearing the
with the
advice that, you know,
limitations
we shouldn't be suggesting the amount of weight that should be given in considerations and cases and so on. But, you know, I think the spirit of the question is, can we draw applicants' attention to the existence and the importance of this document through the recruitment process?
there would be a number of documents in the alcohol setting that I guess members of DLC, in terms of having to have knowledge about alcohol licensing matters or alcohol matters, would likely know about or would need to know about. So I guess perhaps alluding to it in the form of that might be one of the documents that you would have information about. But yeah.
I see nothing wrong with presenting it to applicants in a pack that goes to them. Yeah. There's nothing wrong with that, but I think hanging too much on it in terms of around decision making, that's another matter.
Yeah, okay. I mean, given the conversation we're having this afternoon is about the recruitment process and not the decision making, if we can keep the discussion within the scope of this paper, that would be good. Anne, your thunder possibly has been totally stolen by this point.
No, not at all. I'm very happy for Tim to... the points are good ones. Thank you. No. We're working together. Just in terms of the recruitment process, though, we have got a competency descriptor that's sent out as part of this, and one of the competencies we would want to see is that there would be an understanding of harm caused by the consumption of alcohol, demonstrates knowledge of the Act and alcohol-related harm. And the third point, number 3, would be community knowledge, demonstrates knowledge of the community for which DLC operates. And that would be understanding of community expectations around licensing. Now, every person here, I would imagine, has had communication from their community with concerns about alcohol harm and the proliferation of outlets and what that's doing to their community. So I would expect, I mean, I'm just wondering, the question is, how would a person who's applying for this job demonstrate that they have an understanding of the community expectations around licensing? What would you look for if you were looking for that?
I look to their experience in community activities that they've been in prior. They get asked specific questions about their knowledge in the area. But there's also a fine line between having an understanding and a knowledge and being able to represent your community, and also being at an extreme level of that and not being impartial, which is also where I have to be very careful that there's people that aren't necessarily conflicted in their views. So there needs to be a balance. We need people who understand those alcohol-related harm issues, which are addressed in it's one of the objects of the Act, but weighing up with also, you're not taking that to an extreme. Because what we don't, bearing in mind that when there's a hearing under the Act, there's 3 people on the hearing, so hopefully we'll have a balance of representation in each committee as well. I don't know if that answers your question, really. The legislation, its purpose isn't to prohibit alcohol.
What we're looking at, can I continue? Is that with another question? Is that okay,
Yeah, absolutely. I'm keen that we focus on the recruitment part.
We are absolutely, and that's what I'd like to. So these people are making decisions about, the job is to make decisions about whether to grant licences for alcohol outlets, basically. People to sell alcohol.
Of things.
Yeah, a variety of things. So, and because this is a council-directed appointment, yeah, where council officers are making these appointments, could we expect that the people that we recruit have similar views to what we have as a council, which is a goal to reduce alcohol harm in our community? Would we expect that to be the case in the people that we recruit?
The Act refers to harm minimisation, which is what I would expect them to have a mind of. Knowledge of, yep.
How would a person who's applying for this role demonstrate that? What sort of questions would they be asked, and how would we know that their views are consistent with what we are trying to achieve with this as a council? Because they're our employees, basically.
Well, they're not, as I just explained before. They're a special council committee that actually is removed from the council and is an independent decision maker, similar to a judicial body, who has to follow the functions and requirements of the Act and case law that's been established under the Act. And if there was a local alcohol policy, that the council had, which it doesn't, meet the requirements of that.
So it's also quite hard, as with any recruitment process, to find someone who ticks every box that you're looking for. And so there are some things that you can learn, and there are some things that are just fundamental that you knowledge and skills that you have to have. And there are the district licensing committee does get training when the members are appointed. So having a good mix of people and a balance of all the skills is going to be quite important, I think, rather than trying to find someone who ticks every box, because I have found that quite hard in the past with the applicants that we receive.
All right, thank you. But the key point relating to both Tim and Anne's question is that a recruitment pack is able to be put together in which the documents that Anne showed us earlier is able to be part of that pack along with other documents.
Sure.
Thank you. Sarah.
I was just checking actually, and Judith just alluded to it. If council had a concern about the number, the location, the hours of licensed premises or licences, then the appropriate place for us to address that as a council would be an LAP, local alcohol plan. Is that right?
Yeah, local alcohol
and we
policy.
chose not to. Policy.
Yep.
We chose not to continue with that last term, but that would be the place to address those concerns from our perspective.
To give it some statutory weight.
Yeah, that's us.
Yeah. And my understanding is that the district licensing committee would encourage the council to go down that path, to give them some direction as well about. So that's exactly the forum that you would use.
All right, thank you. So, Tim, you're happy to move this? And do I have a seconder? Anne. So moved by Tim, seconded by Anne. Is there any debate on this?
Actually, sorry, before I second it, sorry, I already have. Is there an opportunity, could I ask council to consider adding a recommendation in here? Is this too late to do that at this point?
Well, this has now been moved by Tim and seconded by you. If Tim's in agreement, then we could.
Tim, are you in agreement? Just depends on what it is.
With what?
Well, I'm recommending that we, as part of the recruitment process, the applicants demonstrate a knowledge of the CAP and actively support the council's shared vision of reducing alcohol harm.
In line with the answers to the questions, I'd suggest that probably is going further than certainly staff have suggested we should go. Where we did get to was that there would be an awareness of that particular document along with other documents, but drawing particular attention to that particular plan maybe further than we should go, I think was what I heard.
Yeah, I have absolutely no concern drawing people's attention to it within a package of documentation. But they are, I just want to reiterate, they are independent members, and the real thing that they need to be mindful of is the Sale and Supply of Alcohol Act.
Yeah, I mean, clearly there's a legal framework around this. There's a legal set of expectations around it, and the Act obviously specifies some of this. I think, I mean, the sentiment of the discussion will have been picked up by staff, most definitely. I'm suggesting that where you want it to go probably doesn't align with the answers that we've had from the staff in response to questions.
If I answer Ian's question, I'm going to support it as it is, and I hope you do too, because I think the question that you're asking is a bigger question to talk with staff and our colleagues. So I think we've got to have a really good plan, because there's obviously a gap here which I'll talk to.
Okay.
All right, but I think the sentiment and the direction you want to take is clearly understood and will have been picked up. All right, so this is, so, and you're still happy to be the seconder. All right, so moved by Tim, seconded by Anne. Is there any debate on this? So Tim, yep.
Yeah, look, thank you, and it's very clear what the process is, and thank you for the report, and obviously I've moved it, I support it, but there is a real issue here, and we do it quite often in the sense that the expectation from the public to the reality and what the expectation is are different things. And I think that's where we've got to have a bit of a talk and look at going forward, because we did a lot of work on the CAAP, but technically to find out that, you know, there's no way we can debate the proliferation of bottle stores in a certain area is exactly what the community want, and we totally missed that. So I think there's somehow, some way, we as councillors have to have that discussion. Where it is and how it falls, I'm not sure. I'm totally kind of blind on that one, but I'll just raise that with the acting mayor and our CE to look. There does have to be a discussion. We have gone down the road with an LAP, and that kind of didn't go anywhere because of certain reasons, which probably, you know, for a number of different reasons. But I think that's maybe something we've got to talk about again. But we are stretched for cash, and is it going to be worthwhile? Is it going to be passed and accepted and not end up in court? Would be an interesting one.
All right, thank you. So I'll put the motion. Anne, did you want to speak?
Yeah. We have so little power at the moment in terms of helping our communities to really make a stand against off-licence outlets that are causing a huge amount of harm. We all know the harm that alcohol causes. I was hoping that we might be able to strengthen our arm a little bit here and actually really have some control over making sure that this document, which is actually a partnership between police, council and the CDHB, and a huge amount of work has gone into, and has got a very clear vision of reducing alcohol harm. I was hoping we might be able to strengthen our arm a little bit here, but it is what it is, and I'm hopeful that the people that are appointed to these positions are of the same mind as we are. But I also think this opens up the discussion about the LAP and the need for it. We don't have any other power, really, to stand against the alcohol industry unless we have one. So I would really encourage us to start thinking about that and look forward to future discussions. But happy to, agree with this today.
So I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Against? That's carried. Thank you.